Welcome back. And if this is your first time, welcome. This is Bonms and I'm Ross. All right, I want to jump right into it. If you clicked on this video, you know exactly what you're in for. So I won't take too much time getting straight to the point. As always, I do value your time, so I'll get you in and out. If you clicked on this video, obviously it's about steps and why you cannot skip them. Because I've tried. I've exhausted myself mentally, physically, in some ways financially. But the beautiful thing about it, you can bounce back, you can recover. But what I've learned from attempting to skip steps is that you can't. If you watched one of the previous videos that I shot earlier this week, or maybe last week, the power of manifestation. To piggyback off that before we get into today's video, yes, you have to manifest things, but also there is power in productivity. Meaning a raindrop, a consistent drip eventually can pierce or penetrate steel. How so? It'll take a long time. However, if it stays consistent and continuously hit that same spot over time, that continuous drop will eventually pierce, if not destroy, that piece of steel. And this is how. Eventually, the water is just going to drip. Not going to do anything. But as time progresses, what will begin to happen, that steel will begin to corrode and rust. And then if it continues to drip on this corroding or rusted steel, eventually that last drop will penetrate right through. And the reason why I said that is because no matter how minuscule your steps might seem to you, or your psyche, or your finances, how minuscule they are extremely large within the universe and towards your key to success. You can't skip steps. So, and I know right now we live in an era of magnifying. We have certain individuals that thrive off creating this illusion that they skip steps. They have it. And the reality of it is that that's a gimmick. And once that gimmick dries up, they're going to have to get a real job. But if you continue to take the proper steps, you will be set for life, and not only for your life, but your kids' life and your kids' life if you do it properly. And this is how. For one, you have to live below your means. You cannot live above your means. You have to live below your means. You have to reinvest your money. If you're not interested, or if you're not knowledgeable enough at this particular moment or stage in your life about investing, you need to have enough currency to be able to let the bank invest safely for you, such as CDs. I think most banks have a 500 minimum. 500 minimum. And what will happen, you can lock that up for a duration of 6 months to 11 months or a year. And you can gain 5% on whatever it is, it varies depending on the bank. It can be anywhere from 4 to 5, or maybe even larger if they having a special promotion. But before you can have $500 that you can say, look, I am willing and able to lock this money up, you have to have some steps in order. How do you do that? You have to stop living paycheck to paycheck. That's the first thing. And the only reason why you are living paycheck to paycheck is because you don't have any wiggle room, or you have to come up with so many side hustles, or so many just side hustles. There's nothing wrong with side hustles. But if you have to side hustle to get ahead or to stay afloat, you're side hustling wrong. I mean, you're not living below your means. Your side hustle is supposed to be able to be risky with. It's supposed to allow you to invest. It's supposed to be for a CD. It's supposed to be for a high yield savings account, an index fund. It's supposed to be for like I'm side hustling, so I don't see this money. This money is going to go towards an account I don't even see, and that account, for example, an index fund, is going to invest it for me in the magical or the mythical 7 or whatever the case may be. But if you're side hustling to pay bills, something's not right there. You are missing a vital piece, and that vital piece is you're spending too much of your primary income. You need to cut back on your debt. Your income to debt ratio has to at least, bare minimum, man, you should at least be able to save $100 a paycheck. And if you could do that, that's $200 a month that you've saved. You times that times 12, by the end of the year, you saved $2,400. And that's not even including your side hustle. If you're side hustling, let's say that's too much. Let's say you just save 100 per month, 50 per paycheck. That's still 1,200 at the end of the month. Let's say, okay, that's a stretch. Let's say you save $50, 25 per paycheck after all of your expenses are paid, which includes rent or mortgage, groceries, transportation, which includes gas, as well as insurance, and your cell phone, of course. We're not even mentioning, if you are saving 25, you don't need a social life. That's the reality of it. Your social life needs to be educating yourself for the next 6 to 12 months on how to stop living paycheck to paycheck. Netflix, cool. You don't need to be going to the movies. Nah, not right now. You don't need to be eating out. No, not right now. You need to be at home cooking. You need to save. You're skipping steps. Eating out is a luxury. Eating out is a luxury. Going to the movie theaters is a luxury. Well, you might say, well, I want to enjoy my life and live paycheck to paycheck. Well, that's up to you. Perfectly fine. I'm not going to get into that. However, let's say something happens like your tire. Now, what are you going to do? Let's say your head gasket blow out. Let's say your AC goes out. Let's say something simple. We live in a time where thieves cannot keep their hands to themselves and they break your glass just to steal nothing, or just to realize there was nothing of importance in there. Or let's say, hey man, you're thinking of the worst scenarios. Let's say your child needs emergency money to go on this trip that all of the kids will be going to. You want to be able to do those things. And I'm not even talking about luxurious things. I'm talking about things that should be on autopilot because you're able to save, or you're not living paycheck to paycheck. That is a travesty to live paycheck to paycheck if you just have terrible spending habits. And I understand that inflation is ridiculous at this particular time and moment. So I definitely agree with that. And I understand that the hourly income or salaries does not combat inflation. Not talking about that. So you're excluded as well because it is terribly out of whack. However, rent is terrible. Mortgage is terrible. These things are only going to get worse. So I'm glad we're talking about this because it's important for us to take charge of this debt to income ratio, because what makes you think this is going to get better? What makes you think that inflation is going to go down? The reality of it is never going to go down. Inflation will never go down. This is what Bonms is about. It's to tell you the truth so you can be prepared for it. You can change your way of thinking. Thinking that, oh, it's going to get better. It's never going to get better. It's no politician's job. It's not your pastor's job. It's not your parents' job, especially if you're 40, to be borrowing. No, inflation is not going to, you cannot complain about how your parents got a home for this. We already know that. But it's so much information, but it's equally as equal. It's what's parallel to information in today's time is distractions. And if you're living paycheck to paycheck and you make good money, you got to come in. You have to lock in. You have to realize that there are some things that I need to cut out. And if that significant other, if you're in dating season and they might go away because you're about to get tighter on your budget because you realize that inflation is out of hand and they have a problem with that, they need to go. Whether they be male, female, dog, sheep, cow, whatever. We have to start working together and realizing that it is not a time to be effortlessly throwing out money. That's skipping steps. I did it. It's not meant to be. So when you see those people on these yachts and you see these people in these nice cars, on these nice trips, they're probably getting paid to sell you this. So you need to get in control of that particular emotion, that false nostalgia feeling that I have to do it too. And I'll just put it on my credit card. And that's it. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. It's credit cards. But skipping steps is imperative. If you're making $50K a year, you need to be on a 72-month. Depending on your credit, obviously, depends on your interest rate. Your APR, which will include your interest rate. But safe to say, let's just say 72 months. You need to be riding around in a affordable car, if it's going to be a new car, you need to have a entry level new car. If you're making $50K, if you're making anywhere from 25 to 50, now, if you make it 25, you don't even think about a new car right now. I don't care if it's entry level. You need to get you a gas saver, which is perfectly fine. But if you can find a way to get that and you're going to side hustle for it to get the rest, I'm with you on that. So get you a zero mileage, and you're going to do a little Uber or you're going to do a little Instacart or whatever, these great opportunities to get some little extra money to help you combat that car note and insurance. I'm with you on it. But make sure you get a nice entry level gas saving car. Something that is eco-friendly, that makes sense to your finances at this particular time and moment in your life. But if you're making $50K, you do not need a $50,000 car. You're making $50K. Bring it back. Because 72 months, which is subjective, goes as far as interest rate, APRs, a $50,000 car, let's just say 7% interest rate, 6 to 7. So we'll say 6.5% interest rate. I'm being biased. I'm being fair because I know, I'll be 6.5% interest rate. 72 months, which gives you a little wiggle time. Sure, you can say, well, Ross, we're going to be paying interest rate down. Trust me. Let's hear it out. Give yourself some wiggle room so you don't, if anything was to happen, you don't have to really spread yourself thin in order to, if you do a 48 month. No, don't do it. Do it. So if you are making 50,000 a year, meaning you're going to bring home like 44, and with inflation and all these different things, whether you rent, mortgage, your car note with a $50,000 car is going to be nearly $700. And that's not including. So you're going to be spending almost $1,000. Safe to say. Because of insurance, you have a new car. Pretty expensive insurance on a new car. And that car is a $50,000 Camry, which is ridiculous, by the way. But it's a Camry. And you spent $50,000 on a Camry. So you're spending $1,000 a month. That's $12,000 down the drain. You only make 50, but you're only bringing home 44, 45. So why would you have a 50? You're skipping steps. So, and I'm talking about a Camry. So you shouldn't even be looking at a Mustang. You shouldn't even be looking at a Challenger. You shouldn't even be looking at a Range Rover. You shouldn't even be looking at a Lexus. You shouldn't even be peeping at a Mercedes or a BMW. Why? Let alone, even if it's used, you can't afford the upkeep. You're skipping steps. So what you should do, get your entry level car, gas saver. or ride around that hand-me-down. That's the best thing you could do, ride around a hand-me-down and work on figure out this debt to ratio income, get a little bit more comfortable with that, perfect that. Now you're able to have a little bit more wiggle room, not to go buy a car or buy a new iPhone 72 or whatever. You have a little bit more wiggle room to reinvest. If you're not knowledgeable about reinvesting, you have enough money, or you're more comfortable to where you feel you're able to lock up secure money with the bank, known as a CD. The goal is to be able to, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 72% of America doesn't, or 72 to 80% of Americans don't have $1,000 in their savings. How did we get here? Skipping steps, that's how. So moving along, enough about that. Those are financial things those are things that you can begin to work on to improve your finances, but it's really not the finances, it's your mindset. You're trying to skip steps. You're trying to drive around in a certain car that you're not yet ready for. You will be one day. You just have to be patient. You cannot skip the steps. You cannot. Or what will happen is you will continue to foreclose. You will continue to lose. You will continue to send your stuff to collections. You will continue to take blows that are unnecessary, that will set you back, and you're going to continue to stumble down the stairs that's going to make it harder in the longer run. Stop swinging for the fences right now. Get your base hits. Just get to the base and don't strike out. Play around. Get there for a minute. You got to stop eating out so much. Spending all this money on this Uber. Just analyze your own self, because you are worthy enough and you are deserving enough to not live paycheck to paycheck. That's heartbreaking to know that not 70% to 80% of Americans don't have an emergency $1,000 in their, and that is emergency. And that's why we're here today. Bonms is here to encourage you, motivate you, inspire you to get back. We have to get back humble. We have to get back, have some type of foundation to where we are holding one another accountable, and we are uplifting and encouraging and building with one another, because we can't continue to be this financially illiterate, which is not an insult. It's just maybe someone never talked to us about it. And we'll talk more about the benefits, the perks of working on your credit, paying things on time. Get a small little $200 credit. Here's a cheat sheet. Here's a cheat. Here is a cheat that you can use that works. If you get approved for, matter of fact, go to a bank. If you have a bank account, ask, do they have secured accounts, secured credit cards? So to break that down, what that means is you have to have a minimum of $500. See, everything you have to have a minimum of $500. So guys, work on being able to save up to $500, because it's going to benefit you. So the secured account is where the minimum is $500. And what will happen is they'll open this account for you, and it's your $500 as long as you keep the account open. And once you close it, it'll of course come back to you. But the purpose to have this account open is to build your credit, so that you're not paying more money for a car. For example, if you take out this loan, let's use the Camry, for example, 72 months for a $50,000 car, you're probably going to be spending anywhere from $7,500. If you do the full duration of the 72 months, you're going to be spending anywhere between $5,000 to $10,000 in interest if you do not refinance and start it over. Never refinance. Never refinance. Never for a lower payment. Never do that. Just, why would you never start your payments over? For if you do it in a home, that's one thing. because you may buy a home today at 5% interest rate, 7% interest rate, and tomorrow the interest rate magically goes down, or next year magically goes down to 2%. Okay, I can understand you refinancing that because you've only paid 12 months of a mortgage. So sure, I'm definitely for that. But for your vehicle, don't do it. Just to save 30, 40 bucks. That means you're living paycheck to paycheck. That means you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing because you're blowing your money. But anyway, back to the secured account. What you need to do is open up a secured account. Ask about the secured account. And what they're going to do, it's a minimum. It varies depending on the bank. But let's just say for the sake of this this particular topic in the video, that it's $500 the minimum to open up a secured credit card line for your bank. And what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to use that as a line of credit, and you just pay yourself back. So, but what that shows the people that lend the money, the people behind Equifax and the FICO scores and things of that nature, it shows that you can pay your money back, even though you're borrowing from yourself, which is great. You can pay on time. And this is the cheat code. This is what you do. Let's say you only use this card for very miscellaneous things. Don't blow the whole 500 because you got to pay the whole 500 back. This is solely to build credit. So you would swipe 10 bucks. 10 bucks for that month. Once you get to, if you go to Dollar Tree or a dollar store, you swipe it 10 times, fine. However you get to $10, perfectly fine. Do not exceed that. What you do though, now you pay off, let's say for the sake of this, whatever we're doing right now, for the sake of this example, you spend 15 bucks. You pay back 10. Your minimum might be your minimum 10 bucks. So what you're going to do, you're going to pay back 10, which is 2/3 of your balance. You paid 3 months technically. What you do, you allow that $5 to roll over. Two things that the bank see, or what they see, is you don't mind having a little, they feel like, oh, okay, we're making money because interest. They love it. But what you're doing, you're also paying back. That's how you win. You pay, but what you're doing, you're also paying back. That's how you win. You pay back, they get interest, they boost your score. That you take out a loan and you pay it off immediately, you're going to take a hit to your credit. And quite frankly, you didn't have that line of them that you are responsible. Sorry about that. You have to stay below your means. You have to put yourself in position to where